Welcome to the Iron Roots podcast, where we talk about sports, sustainability, and anything else that inspires us. All right, Henk, thank you for dropping by in our office, in our podcast. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for dropping by. We already spoke before about my past with track and field as well, so that's why I was also very interested to talk with you on the coaching perspective of it all. Maybe you can give us a short introduction about who you are, what you do.
What I do, that's not a short introduction. I do a lot.
Long introduction also.
Yeah, no, I try to keep it short. I'm still coaching athletes since 1974, 75, 76. Still coaching athletes on an almost daily basis. In this moment, it's only one, and by coincidence, because he worked out this morning, she's here as well. What else do we do? I write books. I like to share my, although limited experience and knowledge with other people, especially coaches. So far, I think I wrote 6 or 7 books about training, coaching, stress and fatigue, vibration training, performance in general. I like to travel and to enjoy life a little bit. And Ronel knows is a very fanatic reader. I think my library is one of the biggest I've seen so far, apart from, of course, the National Library and university libraries. So I like to read about a wide spectrum of topics, from history, politics, to fiction, to science, whatever. I have a few strange hobbies. One of them is creating perfumes. That's one of my hobbies.
Interesting.
From distilling essential oils and then making perfumes, and of course buying perfumes. I'm very interested in health and nutrition. I wrote my first book. It was adapted as a course for 400 pages back in the 1990s, 30 years ago, about orthomolecular nutrition. So I'm interested in that and in the relationship between nutrition and health. And in my office, I have a small company called Forex, and what we do is we measure stress, fatigue, and burnout in people. And that's running well, because more people getting stressed, more people getting burnout, and more people are tired. So, and that's how I try to fill my days a little bit.
Awesome. Maybe too short of an introduction of all the awesome things that you've done so far, but really like that it's such a variety of hobbies and things that you're interested in.
Yeah, it is.
And how did track and field come into your life? Can you touch a bit about that?
Yeah, purely by coincidence. As a child, I already liked to read. I took the library card of myself, 5 books in 3 weeks, and then the library card of my parents, the 12 books in 3 weeks, and then you had to bring them back. So I like to sit and read. And other kids like to play outside and do sports, and I didn't like it. It makes you tired, you're getting dirty, and you don't learn much from it. So I hated sports. I wasn't very good at sports. If I did something in gymnastics or something, it was ridiculous. I think it was my worst class, gymnastics. But then I was growing a little bit taller during puberty, and then my mom found the time to do sports, and I didn't want to. But close to our house was a track through the park, and said, "Okay, I'll go with your little brother." And I went with my little brother. I didn't think it was anything, so I didn't enter. And then in the end, I did high jump. Of course, you're taller. The other kids were 3 feet high, and I was 6 feet. So you understand, I was winning the high jump. And I was more or less stumbling over the bar. I wasn't even jumping, I was stumbling. And then I started to do the high jump. And from high jump, I didn't think it was cool enough. It's an eternal fight against gravity, and you always lose. You know that. And I thought the coolest event was sprinting. And then my coach said, "Henk, as a sprinter, you won't do anything because you're too tall." Now, imagine I'm as tall as Usain Bolt, so I don't think the length has much to do with it. So my coach was the regional record holder in the 100 meters, so I broke his record to punish him for what he said. So he ran 10.6 and I ran 10.5 at that time. And then being a little bit disappointed with the knowledge of my coaches, I started to read books myself. I ordered books from Germany, translated from Russian, and started reading. Wow, there's a whole world out there. Then I did all the courses within the Track and Field Federation or the Athletics Federation. And I was 21 years old or 22, and I had all the courses already good enough to be a national coach. But I didn't think about coaching. By the way, after 100 meters, I ran 400 meters. I was 3 times national champion indoors in the 400 meters. I represented the Netherlands in the national team for the 400 meters and the 4x400 meters. But I was learning to train and to coach myself, not to coach anybody else. But then somebody twisted my arm, and I ended up coaching a small track club in Assen, say in 60 in Assen. And very bad conditions, but my athletes were doing very well. For the first 3 years, I was very, very nervous to go to them. What can I tell them? What should I do with them? I have no clue what to do. But strange enough, they picked up all the medals in the national junior championships almost. Everyone who entered got a medal at the national junior championships. And then the federation asked me to be a junior national coach. And that's the whole thing started. Up to now, it was 1980. And 40 years down the road, I'm still coaching. But I don't consider myself to be a natural coach or a natural gifted person in that. So
you just rolled into it, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I never thought that I would be coaching athletes, or never thought I'd be an athlete in the first place. So.
Interesting how life can go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You end up somewhere completely different than where you started, or what your original intentions were. So.
Yeah. But it's awesome. I mean, it sounded like you from the beginning were already very interested in applying the knowledge and learning a lot of things about track and field and health.
Yeah, I was member of when I was young, somewhere between 11 and 15 years, I was member of a small group. It's called the Young Researchers. It was a group of students from the university, and they learned science to young kids to motivate them to become a scientist. Well, that didn't happen, and I was more interested in explosives and weird smells like pineapple or something, and smoke and fire than in serious science to find out how many germs there were in dirty water or something. Who cares? I cared about making fireworks and rockets. That was my kind of science. So
that's where it maybe started all in the
it was me interested in basic in science.
Yeah.
In science. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, back in the day there wasn't that much knowledge in track and field, but in general in coaching. But there was a lot of knowledge in other countries. How did that come about in other countries?
Because they had an education for that. Don't forget, the Germans had the Sporthochschule in Cologne, where you educate coaches. We in Holland had only CIOS, which is say sport instructors, and the ALO, the Sports Academy, there you become a sports teacher. So you teach your pupils once a year to do the long jump, to make them do the long jump, or to try the pole vault once, but not how you get from 8 meters long jump to 8 meters 30 in the long jump. So that's not what you learn there. In Russia and Germany, sports was seen as a part of their culture. Coaches were professionals. There was a good education for coaches. A lot of sports scientists were working at that time. So that's where the knowledge came from. And in Holland and mainly in Western Europe, we're missing that kind of education, that kind of culture of coaching.
Yeah, and it's almost still prevalent, right? Because if you go to the US, college is like a jump from athletes from maybe they don't have the right education, but they can get somewhere because of their athletic performance. But in the Netherlands, if you're a professional athlete and you're young, the university doesn't care. Right?
No, absolutely. And like somebody like Ronel here is kind of, she's doing university human movement science, but gets very little support to do that. In the US, you're kind of a hero.
Yeah, of course.
So I went to the Olympics. Wow, you're an Olympian. Over here, you're an Olympian. You're too stupid to study or too lazy to work. Otherwise, you don't have time to go to the Olympics to do sports. So only soccer might be an exception, or speed skating, but that's about it.
Yeah. And it's really sad because it doesn't foster the type of athletes that you will want in the country, I think, right? You have to jump through like 5 hoops instead of just one and focus on sports.
Yeah, there's a lot of limitations here.
Yeah.
And despite that, we're doing pretty well in sports. If you look at the Olympics, we are number 10 in the world. Because that's also because we are just a small country. We won't have to travel. We can centralize knowledge and experience. Or Papendal is one of those sports centers. So we're pretty smart with the limited resources we have. We're doing pretty well, I must say.
Yeah.
And it's mainly thanks to the coaches, of course, who are all crazy people like me.
Yeah.
You know that.
I definitely do. But it also helps, I think, because it makes it so that you can try out a lot of things, I imagine. Right? You've maybe read some things that you can apply in the track and field or in coaching people.
Yeah.
How was that from back in the day when you had to basically find books and learn about that compared to now?
Of course, the internet is a great help. You have much more information to your disposition. You can contact scientists in China without sending them written letters and go to the post office, and then they might end up nowhere. So the share of information is much better. The thing is only, are we going to apply that information? There's so much knowledge that people drown in that information. So that information that's available now makes some good coaches better coaches. But mediocre coaches become confused coaches. Now, if Instagram is your only source of information, so, oh, Henk, did you read this? I saw on Instagram a guy who did this exercise. Well, that's totally meaningless to me because you don't know the context and background. That's without that, any film or any exercise or any supplement is useless to adopt that knowledge.
Yeah. And how do you distill that? Because I feel like maybe a lot of the people who are listening as well, there's so much information out there. How do you distill good information from mediocre or bad information? Or how do you do it?
Well, it's not only what is said, it's also who said it, with which background are you saying this. There's a young kid of 22 years old, he's a high-performance specialist, and he's going to tell you how to train and that you're doing everything wrong. And think, well...
You're 22.
It's funny, but you have no background. I mean, they tell you about how you should sprint, and he never sprinted himself, he never coached any decent sprinters, so you're going to tell me. Interesting, but I'm skipping that information, as a matter of fact. And of course, the background you had from my obsessive-compulsive reading, because if you say something on Instagram or social media, it doesn't. There's no filter there. If you write a book, then you have to take the time to write it and the patience. It must be worth it. Then you have somebody editing the book. You have somebody reading the book first and saying, "Hi, I think this is total bullshit what you're writing now." And on Instagram, it's like, or in any social media, it's like, bam, it's there. And if it's bullshit or not, nobody will stop you from producing bullshit. So 99% what you read on the internet or Google it is garbage. It's the biggest garbage can in the world.
Yeah. And also even maybe more elaborated because clickbait is there, right? If you make like a headline that's shocking or make a statement like, oh, this is how you should train or this is healthy for you, then Absolutely. It gets more clicks.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The new secret miracle supplement that made him run so fast or something. Well, when you get older, one of the advantages, you've seen it all. You've seen it all. How many times people say there's a supplement, your athlete's going to run 1 second faster if he takes this in the 100 meters. And it's like, what? How stupid I am. I'm struggling, and we're struggling every day on the track to get 100 of a second faster. And there's this miracle supplement that makes you run 1 second faster, or this exercise or anything, or this program or this system. That's all bull. But people love to be fooled.
Of course. Yeah. They want miracle stuff. Right?
There's a sucker born every minute.
Yeah.
And a crew born every hour to take care of 60 suckers.
I like that one. She write that down. So I also read that you focus a lot on injury prevention because that focuses more on the longevity of athletes.
Yeah.
Can you touch a bit about that? Because in my background in track and field, there wasn't too much focus on prevention in injuries. And
well, it's not even prevention of injuries, because you cannot predict which injury is going to happen. It's mainly the choice in your exercises for each individual athlete. So there are some exercises that don't do any harm. They don't do any good. there's exercises which are good for some athletes, and that's killing other athletes as well. And so that's where the advantage is. If you can do that, then you go a long way, because I figured out that for somebody like Ronelle here, some exercise I will never do with her. Well, for other athletes that I coached, we did a lot of those exercises. One of those exercises, of course, is jumping or bounding. Well, some athletes are born like a kangaroo or like a cat. They're designed, they are born to jump and adapt well to it. And some athletes are born like cows. Cows don't jump. I have a nice picture of a cow hanging over a fence. You know, he tried to jump, he didn't make it. He is not designed to jump. You know, the sloth is not designed to jump. He's designed to hang and do nothing, and not designed to jump, but to be explosive. And the same for athletes. Some of them are explosive, designed to jump, can handle a lot of jumps. And some of them, they can handle jumps, but not too much. And some of them you should never jump because they get injured after 2 workouts. So this is the real secret of training, to figure out for each athlete which is the good, not a system, but the good approach for them, and that might be completely different for others. It's the same with nutrition. Somebody's superfood, your superfood might be my poison, and the other way around. If you love peanuts, it's fantastic food. You know, it has proteins and fats and carbs and fibers, perfect. If you end up in an uninhabited island somewhere, like Tom Hanks, if you have peanuts, perfect. Is that the only thing you can eat? Fantastic. That's real superfood. But if you're allergic to peanuts, you might die.
You're done. Yeah.
So that's the difference, and the real quest is to figure that out for every individual athlete, and that might already take 1 or 2 years to figure it out.
Yeah, and a lot of patience, a lot of time, because usually, at least in my experience, is for every athlete, there's almost a similar exercise pattern for a week, but not a specific, like, hey, this is maybe a better exercise for you or not. It's always like a one-size-fits-all type of approach, I feel like, most of the times.
Yeah, well, it's the most simple thing.
Yeah, of course.
One size fits all. You make one program and 30 athletes doing the same thing. Well, some of them will do very well, 1 or 2. Some of them do well. Some of them don't improve. Some of them get worse. And some of them get injured and they go and do something else. So I don't like that, because I don't have 30 athletes. My biggest group in the last 30 years was somewhere between 1 and 6 athletes. So I cannot afford to lose one. If you have 100 like in the US or at the time in Russia or in China, you can destroy 90 athletes and still there's 10 left. I only have 1. I'm happy with 1 person with 2 healthy legs and a healthy mind that comes to the track. I'm very happy, and I have to do with it. So I put a lot of effort in keeping this athlete healthy and sane.
Yeah, it's a very, very luxurious position, I guess, for the athletes then, because they get that personal approach that you have there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In a sense, it is. But if you have already 6 athletes, you have 6 different programs, so it takes you much more time and thinking to get each individual approach. Yeah. But that's the real secret, of course, to success: finding the right thing for your athlete. And sometimes I like to work with, let's say, a laser pointer. If you shoot somewhere with a laser dot, instead of just shooting like shotgun and hoping something will hit. You know, survival of the fittest. I don't like that.
And because it's a very small group of athletes that you choose to work with, how do you make the decision of who to work with and who not to work with? Is it a conscious decision, or just it comes about?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Somehow I have a nose for talent.
Okay.
So it depends, number one, on if they're older athletes and they already are in the game for a long time. I already know. I know their background. I know what they did. I know their performances, their medals, their records. I know that. But some of them, and that's what I like, start young. So you don't know anything about them. And then you have to kind of make an estimation. But it's mainly in the brain. It's not in the muscle or in the body. It's mainly in the brain. Is this athlete smart? Does he or she understand what I'm trying to do? Trying to tell them? Are they coachable? Now, nobody is uncoachable. There's bad coaches, but don't know what to do with this athlete. But most of the athletes I coached were considered crazy by other coaches. So I always are, I'd say, It's more the garbage can athlete that were discarded by other athletes. Oh, he's too old, he's crazy,
Too tall.
not very smart, never did anything, and so on and so on. So then they come to me and they do better. So that's, well, it happens. So I was lucky, and it's not a very conscious decision. There's not something that you have, okay, yeah, this. It's not something of form that they have to fill in and say, okay, yes or no. It's more of a process. In the case of Ronelle, it was a big mistake. Her mom asked me if I wanted to test her for if she could do the sprinting. I said, okay, let's test her. I said, okay, she has talent for sprinting, absolutely, fantastic. Then, okay, that was my task, I did it. And then a week later, her mom called, are you going to coach me, Ronelle? So, no, not really, because I was having a kind of, since 2004, after 5 Olympics, I want just to do something else with my life. There's so many cool things to do. So after 2004, I quit, and then Ronelle came along, and for one stupid reason or other, I said yes. And here I am, stuck with her still. So.
But you have a good time, it seems, right?
Yeah, it is. As a matter, it's more pleasurable than I ever thought. So that's okay. That's okay. So, yeah. If you don't believe the story, you can ask yourself. So
we'll ask afterwards.
Yeah, so,
No,
that's good. Ask her. Yeah, but it's hard work. And I always realized that nobody told me becoming a coach that it would be an easy job. So coaching, that's easy. Many people think. And well, it depends, of course, on your results. And the funny thing is, the better you get in something, the easier you think it becomes. So always people say, oh, can't you do that? Well, yeah, for Johan Cruyff, playing soccer was easy. Or kicking a ball. For me it isn't, but for him it was. Of course he was already good. So the better you get in something, that's the more you tend to think that things are easy for everybody, and that's definitely not true. For me it was mainly very, very hard work. Study, experimenting with athletes, new exercise, nutrition, finding new ways to improve performance. And well, that was the main thing. It was just hard work. It's not something that comes. I don't have a magic wand like touch and you become a world champion or a world record holder. It doesn't work that way.
But people, it may seem like from the outside, if it's easy for you in some sense, then people think like, oh, this might be an easy job for you. But it's always hard.
Yeah, it's always hard. And they even they think you're lucky. No, okay. When I'm lucky, I have an athlete that is leaving to another coach. If I'm just lucky, then the athletes will do reasonably well, but do much better with another coach. Well, most of the time, that clearly didn't happen. They come back to me because the coach they had and the coach they were having after me, they didn't perform that well. So, and you might be lucky with having one athlete in your life that's doing very well, even despite your efforts, and then nothing. So sometimes you have that. One coach has one athlete, and the rest of his career, he doesn't do anything with athletes. But if you have elite athletes, the older ones that already did well before you started coaching them, or the younger ones that you built from scratch, then okay, there must be something in your way of thinking that is good. Not better than somebody else, but at least good for this combination between athlete and coach.
And how much do you think that talents weighs in on that? Because you say you're kind of good in recognizing talent, but is it talent, or is it your view that also mediocre athletes can get really good with the right coaching or the right training?
I think so. I think the last one, I think that mediocre athletes can be very, very good, because once you name somebody a talent, most of the time the tendency is to become lazy and to get away with it because I'm a talent anyway. Most of the talents are lazy, a little bit crazy sometimes, and you see many talents that were, look at it, if you have a group of athletes, young athletes, 14 years old, or 15 or 16, it doesn't really matter, it depends on the sport, of course, and then with your scouts or talent coaches, you make a system. So, okay, who is a talent and who is not? Okay, here we go. We separate. This is clearly a talent, and this is not. This is clearly a talent, this is not. And then you go after 10 years. And then you will see the ones that, if that system works to detect a talent, then you will see all the people that were talented did well. All the people that were discarded, or the people that were not recognized to be in talent, they didn't do anything. Well, that's not true. You see people who were neglected being a talent, and they do very well, and there's people who were the super talents and didn't go anywhere. So it's more or less a random thing. There's not such thing as talent, or a definition of talent is wrong. I was giving courses for the Olympic Committee, the master coach, and there was something about talent. Then I asked the coaches, what is the difference between a real super talent and a good athlete? Well, the super talent is smarter. The super talent knows how to handle stress. The super talent is flexible. The super talent is this and this and this. Okay, we wrote down 20 things on the board. Then, after 1 hour, I said, listen, you are organizing a talent scouting day. So these things you think are making the difference. On your talent scouting day, what do you test? Oh, mat ball throwing, standing long jump, 30 meters standing start. But even if you see difference there, it doesn't seem to me to make the difference in the end. So you're testing for the wrong things. So basically all the talent scouting is testing the wrong things or looking at the wrong things. And they know, or they think it's mental, but you only look at physical factors. So this is the strange idea, as a matter of fact. You'll see people lose their talent. People say, oh, that's a super talent, and after 5 years, they did not fulfill their expectations, and all of a sudden they're not a talent anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's also just a snapshot, right? If you're young and you already have a physique, for example, of a person who's might be a bit older, you're already starting. I've had some guys when I was like 15, 14, they're already doing a lot of strength training. So they weigh like 10, 20 kilograms more than I did.
Exactly.
So they perform better, but then they get really bad injuries when they're later, or they grow a lot. And
absolutely. I recognize this very well. This is what happens in the majority of the cases.
Yeah. They start too young with like too crazy exercises.
Yeah, start too young. It's like playing your trump card early in the game. Then you have nothing when it really starts to be interesting. Yeah. When you're 20, 22 years old or 23 years old, then it really starts. And then you have no good cards to play anymore because you already, and you might be national junior champion, but who cares about that?
Yeah, I mean, during that time you care a lot, right? Because
of course, yes, you care a lot, believe me.
But it's not on the long run any good, doing you any good.
No, you see it in the larger perspective in the lifespan of the athlete. So yeah, it's good, but if it's not good, it's not a guarantee that you won't do well later, because you only train twice a week, and the other kids are training 6 times a week. Of course, they're much better when they are 17. Of course, they are. So
yeah. And talking about that mindset perspective, is it very different with team sports compared to track and field, for example, where it's very lonely in some sense, the training, the dedication?
Well, the good thing is it's lonely to get there. It's like climbing the Mount Everest all by yourself. That's pretty hard instead of having any support and in a team you always have shared responsibility, and it has its good things. But the bad thing is that for individual athletes or coaches in individual sports like I am, that you can hide. You can be a lousy soccer player or a lousy handball player, but your team is really good, so it makes you good too. Well, you're just not there basically, but because your team is good. Or you can be a very good player, but your team is, and they're pulling you down, so the team can lift you up or pull you down. Well, athletics or any individual sport is more pure. You're good or you're not. It doesn't depend on the team. So that's the beauty of individual sports, I think.
Yeah, I've never had experience in team sports, but I always felt like it's also a nice thing to have, because you you have that shared responsibility. It's not just you, because if you have an off day, it's very confronting, because then you're not performing well. And you're like, shit, I did this all by myself. Well, if you're in a team, you can have that off day, and it doesn't really matter in the big picture, maybe.
Of course. Yeah. Well, the humans are basically social animals. They need a group and a team. That is very hard to be an individual athlete and used to work very hard. Imagine you're 14 years old and you're strong and a big boy. And you do the shot put. At that time it's a little bit light. And you do that. You're standing there with this iron ball in your hand and you push it away and the thing falls 5 meters. Great. Then you walk there, pick it up, go again and go again. And that is what engages you for the next 15 to 20 years. So how fun can that be? I mean, in a certain time, and the time will come, you're doing the 15 meters, of course, much better. But then you come to a full stop. No matter how hard you train, not 1 inch further than last year. So that's the challenge in individual sports, looking for that ceiling.
And is that ceiling, because what I've had in my past, not myself, but I saw a lot of people changing coaches because they might have hit that ceiling and they thought it was the coach. Do you think that also plays into athletes a lot, or?
Well, yes, but don't forget, like I said, humans are social animals. So even the change of a coach, you might change to a much worse coach, but even the change in itself is already a stimulus to improve. You see it especially in team sports, in soccer teams, where a good coach is leaving for whatever reason, and then a coach comes in, a mediocre coach, and the team is doing very well. Yes, the first 6 weeks they're winning everything, they're doing very well because of the novelty. And that definitely helps, but then you have to look for new coaches every 6 weeks. The moment you start losing first time kick, and that happens of course, you kick a coach out to find a new coach again. 6 weeks, you're winning everything. You will lose one time, out, new coach, and then you can go a long way. In theory.
In theory, maybe we should ask a soccer club if they want to test it out in the field.
Yeah, I worked for soccer clubs in the past. I worked for Juventus in 1997. I worked with the National Olympic team in volleyball, the men and the women. The national men's hockey team, field hockey team, with Roland Oltmans as a coach at the time. So I know a little bit of the
team sport as well.
Of the team sport as well, yeah.
And what do you think that your perspective brings to those team sports that they might not get otherwise? What are things that you're teaching them? So if you can touch on that, what are things that you teach them or?
Well, basically, my task was to be a conditioning coach about strength and speed, of course, and sometimes endurance, but mostly strength and speed, because that's where coaches in track and field know more of than the average coach. Now it's getting better, having specialized strength coaches and so on, but at that time there were many track and field coaches working in hockey and soccer as a running coach or as a loop trainer or a conditioning coach. So that was my task. And self in team sport, of course, you experienced how a team works very well, or doesn't work at all. You see the team dynamics, which isn't there. There's only the dynamics between the athlete and the coach in an individual sport, which is of course much more difficult because it's difficult to laugh at my jokes after 5 years. I've told the joke already 10 times, so then it becomes a little bit more difficult, as you know. I mean, it's what professional blindness.
Yeah, I've had that experience too. Well, in my experience, we just have to adapt to the jokes a little, so they're still good after 5 or 6 years. With,
I try.
Yeah.
Thank God, I'm a little bit too creative in my jokes.
Yeah.
I have more pranks and jokes and funny and stupid things. Most of the time, stupid things to tell my athletes and to show them. Ronel is very much aware of that, In this moment, we are, since the beginning, we're competing about forgetting. Who forgets what? So, forget your coat, forget a stopwatch, forget your spikes, forget your car keys, forget your phone, forget your wallet, or... Well, we're competing, and she can't speak.
Who's winning?
Now. Oh, let's say I'm winning. She forgets basically everything. Even this morning, you forgot something.
Well, scare afterwards what the score is. So you have to keep it fun also, which is an important
That's
element.
very important.
Yeah.
That's very important because if you work together, it's the relationship between coach and, in my case, athlete is, for me, it's very precious. It's not only about the medals, because ask yourself, where are those medals after 20 years? Well, the medals are on the wall, in the shoebox, somewhere in the closet, and nobody is ever looking at a piece of metal. And okay. What happened to the record that you broke? It's broken by other people. That's what they're for. The most important thing, and that's the connection that you keep with basically all the athletes, even 30 or 40 years ago. And that's something I never thought of. I'm still connected to them.
That's
Why?
awesome.
Not because of the medals or the records, but because the challenge, you fight against, people say, Henk, don't waste your time with this athlete. He will never do anything. Lazy, crazy, stupid, fat. Don't waste your time. And then they break a world record. How cool is that? It would be less cool if somebody would say, that's a super talent.
Yeah,
but if they say it's nothing, and then all of a sudden and this happens all the time. Oh, he's too old. Forget about it. He won't do anything. Look how old. He's 28 years old. Like Troy Douglas, one of my athletes from Bermuda.
Yep.
Who lives in Holland for the longest time. I worked with him for 12 years, from 1992 to 2004. And in the end, he broke all his records. He has medals of the World Championships. So, and that's something I said, Henk, you want to spend time on Troy? Waste of time. The guy is already old, yes, but he broke his Brussels Western when he was 37 years old. That's true. So, no, that's very important, I think, to be patient and not to listen too much to other people. Be wise with the advice you take from somebody else.
Advice is plenty. Like we spoke about as well with social media, there's so much out there. And there's also a lot of people who have their own opinion about how you should train or how you should maybe coach people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's not based on anything. If they have to undergo a surgery, I think they prefer to have the surgery by a professor who done hundreds of these surgeries than a student whose first surgery is and his hand is shaking when you need experience in order to be good. It's not everything, but it brings you a long way, because that is what separates the good coaches from the bad coaches, because they learn from experience.
And you can only do that by trying it out in the field. Reading books help, but
that's the only thing that tells you anything.
Experience.
It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter what your IQ is. It doesn't matter how much money you made from coaching. The only thing that counts is the performances of your athletes, the medals, the records. And if they're happy and sane persons, or you turn them to physical wrecks or crippled.
Yeah, that happens also a lot with overtraining. How do you keep an athlete sane, especially if it's like an athlete that's not in a group? In my experience, it's very difficult if you're having a bad a streak of half a year, it's very difficult to keep a positive mindset. How do you break or help those mental barriers?
Yeah. There's no trick or something in a book that you do or a magic formula that you speak. It's just, number one, I think, try to be yourself with your good points and bad points. Don't wear a mask. Show that you're vulnerable too, that you're making mistakes. And if you make a mistake, tell it openly, sorry, I made a mistake. I'll give you an example. This week, Ronelle had to train at home, and I was making a nice program for her. I wrote it on paper or it's on my phone. I sent it to her, and I forgot something. It was downhill running, turn around, uphill running. And the next one, a longer, 5 seconds longer downhill, 5 seconds longer uphill. But I forgot to write the rest. So she did it back to back, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So she called me and I think, whoa. I can hear from her voice, whoa, she's tired. She's really tired. How is it possible? She should be a little bit tired, but not this tired. I made a mistake. I forgot it. So I tell her, sorry, I forgot to put, okay. Now next time I'll write the rest. and don't forget now. It was just like, okay.
This is 1 point on her winning the
Yeah,
forget,
that's
the
true.
forget
That's true.
challenge.
That's true. I forgot the rest. It's a very small point in my opinion. So this is one of the things that you get. If you play a role, you can't play it for a long time. In the end, the mask will drop. So it's better to be close to your own personality and to stay close to who you really are. Then they can love it, they can hate it. And at least know that you, as a matter of fact, always there for them and try to work in their advantage. So it's not like in some cases a coach gets money when an athlete is competing, a percentage. So the athlete is a little bit injured. Now the coach thinks about his bonus and thinks, hey, let's go compete, nothing will happen. I never did it and I'll never do. So I take very good care of these athletes. So I'm not looking at my wallet or at my status or ego, I'm looking at taking care of theirs. And that's probably also the reason why athletes feel this, and what's after 30 or 40 years, we still have reunions, they still app me, call me, basically asking if I'm still alive. Hank, how are you doing? Still alive, man. Alive and kicking. I'm on the track now. On the track, you're still coaching? Yeah, I know. Don't tell me. I know. Still there.
Because you wanted to quit in 2004. What was the decision that you... did you want to quit? Or
very stupid. No. Just to think, hey, I've done it long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, I've been to 5 Olympics, Olympic medal winners, Olympic medalists, world record holders, world champions, and think, okay, what's next? Yeah, I don't know. It was just more like, okay, let's try something else. Let's go back to normal life. And have time to do something else, to write books or something. I've quite a few ideas and plans for the future still. So, but you need time for that. And if you're always on the track and always traveling to training camps and to competitions, you just can't do that.
Yeah. People forget it's such a big time investment from the coaches
absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's almost a full-time engagement, you know. And if you're not on the track with them, then you're thinking about how to improve them. So this is it. I spent much more hours in the library. People ask, how come, compared to your colleagues, your athletes are doing so well? It's not secret. When they were on the beach, I was in the library. When they were in the disco, I was in the laboratory somewhere. When they were at IKEA shopping, I was on the track, trying new ideas. They invest in other things in their lives, which is of course normal. You can see it as a normal job, but it's a special job. So I invest basically all that money. The little money I made, I invested back in my knowledge, my experience, and equipment, because I was curious how things work. So I'm a kind of a toy boy. I have all kind of toys, and I've spent fortune. Ronald knows this. There's fortune on books and on toys to figure out the pleasure of finding out how things work, like Richard Feynman. You know, the pleasure of finding things out.
It's problem solving. Which is
right? Problem, basically, yeah. It's a complex problem, and we try to solve it somehow. And if there's no problem, we create a problem to solve it.
Yeah, we do, and then you get a lot of issues in your brain because it'll find problems that don't exist that you have to solve.
Yeah.
How is that changed over the years? Because is there a lot of new research that you try to apply, or is it a lot of the things that you've learned from the past that you use?
There is, and the funny thing, the more there is available, the less people, in general, the less is applied. I wrote a book, Methodology of Training for the 22nd Century, because coaches are around 50 years behind. If we look at the books that I read in 1976 about Zatsyorsky, Verkhoshansky, Matveyev, Bondarchuk, all Russian sports scientists were very important. Nothing new. We're still relying on information from 50 years ago. In which field can you rely on information from 50 years ago? Nowhere. But in sport this happens. So this information somehow doesn't reach the track. And if it's information, it's superficial, like, there's new supplement, but it's all marketing. There's no foundation in real serious science and years of laboratory experiments with athletes like these guys do. It's not there. It's not there. So that's kind of strange. Even though there's a lot, and it's not easy. Coaches always think themselves as innovators. Well, they're not. They're the most conservative lot around. Never change a winning team.
Yep.
So, and that's it. Always get stuck to the formulas that worked in the past. It might not work for this athlete. So it's difficult to, I do a lot of new things, high-tech things, and most athletes were just, their world was a different world than mine. So they passively absorbed the information, and they thought it was very cool to do some stuff, but they never did anything themselves. Now, Ronelle is studying human movement sciences, so she not only absorbs it, but also picks up my idea, basically steals my idea, and makes them better. Of course, that's a perfect combination. It's a perfect cooperation there, because she understands what I'm trying to say, is interested in it, and is trying to improve on my ideas. And say, Henk, did you hear about this? Okay, and there we go. Well, this is of course very challenging and fantastic, and somebody is taking over this baton, the stick for my knowledge. Otherwise, my knowledge is in my head. The knowledge in the books. Nobody reads them anymore. Reads books anymore. No time. So what happens? Nothing happens, and I'm happy that somebody is just doing something good with this information that I have and the experience that I have.
Yeah, that is awesome. I think that's one of the awesome compliments that you can get as a coach, right? If you have that bond.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's true. That's true. I've also athletes who became coaches, and I see them after 3 or 4 years and say, Henk, now I understand, man. Now I understand, man, how difficult it is to be a coach. Then you're sitting on the other side of the table, my friend. You just have to listen, do what I tell you. Now you have to think, that's a complete ballgame.
Yeah, of course.
Like a soccer coach said, a good horse is not necessarily a good rider, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah. Yeah, you see it a lot because they have a certain name or they have a certain track record that they might think that they can become good coaches, but it's a very different ball game.
Well, the better they are, the more they rely on their own experiences, because they became so damn good. And like I said before, when they're very good at it, they can't understand that somebody else can do that. They could because they were genetic freaks. That's all. And if that's the only luggage you take as a coach, only your own experience, it's very limited, and you don't go very far with this. I mean, you need a certain basic knowledge about how things work, about anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, psychology, nutrition, all these fields that are important. You don't have to be a specialist, but you have to have the basic knowledge. And it will take a few years because you know it before you know this and understand and then can apply it.
Yeah, you cannot take a summer course or whatever and then think that you can apply all that information.
It's not a seminar, weekend seminar.
Become a super coach.
Become a super coach.
I mean, if you could put it on social media, I'd probably sell a lot of courses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's of course, in the end, in the long term, that's that's a punishment for the future.
Yeah,
people will have an overinflated ego, big egos, because they think that the human high performance specialist, the speed expert, and if you look what I do and the exercise like everybody did 40 years ago, there's nothing new there. Or they come up with this crazy exercises like standing on the Bocey ball with one hand, raising a dumbbell and a rubber band here, and doing all kind of cool shit that doesn't
do anything.
No. And they found out, and the athlete found out, but most of the time when it's too late. Time is ticking away at the other side.
Yeah, because you have that limited frame when you're an athlete, so you better invest in all the good stuff that you can find.
Well, you can't waste time.
Yeah.
I'm very patient, but I don't waste time. Also with Ronelle, I'm a patient guy. It's like the Chinese saying, it's like growing rice. You have a small grain of rice, and then you see a little green thing. You said, wow, it should be faster than this. And you pull it out of the ground, and you pull it to make it grow faster, and it doesn't work. You just kill it. That's all. And it happens to many athletes. Because the coaches are too keen to bring performance. When they got them, they should perform next week. National championships, never participated. Oh, next week, national champion. Yeah, you're so good. Okay, and then next week, European junior championship. Go for it. And they go for every event because it boosts their ego instead of thinking, okay, I'm doing this, I'm squeezing it out. But what will happen in the long term? They never think about it. And I only think in the long term, basically. Yeah. And when you think about the long term, when you think where you're going, the road will automatically follow. When you don't think about where you go tomorrow, you could go here, go here, go here. You don't know anything. But if you know I'm going here, I better not go this direction. The optimal road is determined already.
I like that thought. In general life, I think that's a better approach to just make a long-term vision of what your life or what your goals should look like.
Yeah.
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 If you compare this, so very interesting to hear that many of the research is already done like 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Why is it the case that there was so much time and investment back then and not since then, or at least less than?
Because athletes were seen as diplomats in tracksuit. So you see, especially in the socialist countries like East Germany, Bulgaria, Hungary at that time, Poland, Russia, and even China, sports was a way to promote the superiority of the ideology, like the decadent, lazy, fat people in the West. They don't work, they're not used to hardship, and look at us, bam! Look at these athletes. So it was the Cold War on the track or in the swimming pool or on the soccer pitch, and that's what it was. And they invest a lot of money, and basically we didn't. And now we invest a lot of money, but don't ask me how. It's all basically marketing. It's very thin,
very superficial.
It's a way of marketing people. It's a way of marketing. In university, you have so many exercise scientists or human movement scientists. Sorry, Ronald, but their knowledge is very thin. Why? Because the universities now have become learning, not schools. It's not a school. In a school you have time. So basically they are taught to learn for an exam. So they're cramming. It's too much to handle. They do it in the shortest possible time. And then 1 week later, they forgot all they learned for. They only learned for the grades. They only learned for the numbers. They only learned for the exam. So that is they kill every intrinsic motivation and every inspiration to do something by yourself. You don't have to inspire that person and motivate, but you don't have to tell them what to do. They figure it out themselves, and they're happy to do it, and they make mistakes, and they don't care. They continue, and they find something new, and they're enthusiastic about it. Well, many sports scientists are just okay. They follow their hobby of their professor, and it's something that maybe somebody else on the other side of the world already figured out a long time ago. And basically that's why at the one hand there's many new things, but it's very subtle. It's not something
groundbreaking.
The most important things are already basically invented. There's no revolutions anymore. Like see it in the high jump, we had the Fosbury flop at that time.
Yep.
First we had the stand and the Fosbury. That was a revolution. That was an innovation. Since then, well, of course there are limitations in the human body, but there's basically nothing new, and the same applies to sports science, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. And if you try something new, you become one of the crazy ones, right?
I'm the crazy one. I admit I try all kind of new things, and then it has no... Don't forget that science is based on averages. So you take a group of 50 athletes, you do program A, and 50 do program B, and then compare them, and then you say, okay. And then you go for the average of those 50. Did the 50B improve, or 50A, or whatever? But I'm not working with 50 athletes, I'm working with unique individuals, often with genetic freaks. To what apply to this 50 athletes, which are most of the time mediocre athletes or most of the time sports students, does not apply to my individual. So I'm not coming from averages. The average knowledge about average goes to the average program. That's good for the average athlete, but not for the elite athlete who wants to be very good. Those things don't apply to him or her. And that's what I learned in the beginning of the 1980s.
It's very, very interesting that how did you figure that out? Was it just experimenting yourself with different things? Or?
Basically, yes. Because what I learned in my courses was from the Russians, and the Russians put everything in one box. You know, you have weightlifters, swimmers, cyclists. If you run so many kilometers, lift so many weights, then okay, it was averaging. Not looking at the individual. That didn't suit in their ideology, you know. That's the community, communism. It's not looking at the individual. So I learned that, and then got one athlete, and the funny thing was her mom, who was a genetic freak. So everything I learned from the books and from the Russians, from the science, did not apply to her mom. So I said, I have to find something else. So I left things out, put in some new things, and that worked. Okay. Then I got another athlete who was of the same level, Marlene Otti at the time, from Jamaica. She won somewhere like 40 medals in World Championships and Olympic Games. And so I thought, now I know. It's not the knowledge of the Russians, the average. It's not, it's the knowledge I did with Nelly. No. And then I applied it to Marlene. And again, nothing worked. Because if you look at the body and you look at the personality and you look at muscle fibers and you look at other factors, you see a completely different person. So that the average did not work for Marlene. The program for Nelly did not work for Marlene, so I had to reinvent and go back to the drawing board. And then I think, okay, that's it. The lights, the light went on. It's individual. It's very individual. So then you make individual programs for everybody. You try to find out the strong points, the weak points, find out what is more important, enhancing the strong points or compensating for the weak points. Try to make a weak point. So it's difficult to figure out. And well, since then, that was in the 1980s somewhere that I've kind of figured this out. But it's the baseline. My philosophy is it depends. It depends. It depends on what? On the athlete. So like again, what is a super exercise, and the athlete does this exercise, and the performances are through the roof. And you do this with the other one, and there will be at the orthopedic surgeon or the physical therapist in 1 month from now. So the thing is to figure this out.
Awesome. That sounds very, very like a very interesting approach. I've not thought about it that way, but it makes a lot of sense.
But it's simple.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't appeal to a lot of people. It sounds simple. Yeah, it sounds true. It sounds simple. Too simple to be attractive.
Yeah.
People always want something sexy, like a secret or like some very complicated approach. Many coaches, because of lack of knowledge and lack of whatever, they try to make things more complicated, make it sound like rocket science. And it just isn't. If it was rocket science, we would all be working at NASA. It's not. It's basically simple, making people running from A to B. Only 3 rules. Don't start before the gun, stay between the 2 white lines, and the one who is at the other side first, he wins. Only 3 rules, that's all. How simple can it get? Look at American football, look at cricket, so many rules, so many different things. This is so simple. It's the most research sports there is, so we know a lot about every step, every single muscle that moves. We know everything about it. Now do something with it. So you have to analyze the food on your plate, put it in the laboratory, see what's in there. You have the recipe, start cooking now. Do something. That's it.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but if you try to do that without the knowledge that you should need to have in order to make that happen, it's very difficult. You make it sound easy, but obviously it's not.
Yeah, I brought it back from making it complicated and complex to making it easy again. But now it's so easy that people, without the knowledge and experience, they don't want to go through this painful process and spend days and days and days. I think it's rare if Ronel sees me without a book or without a laptop. I always bring it with me. On the airport, I'm reading. In the bus, I'm reading. In the train, I'm reading. In the car, when I'm not driving, of course, I'm reading. I'm always reading. At home, I'm reading. Before I go to sleep, I'm reading. So I always try to... And every day I wake up and I ask myself, am I good enough? Am I good enough? So how can I be better? A little bit better. It's just this little piece of knowledge that might make a difference for the future. So
you're never done learning, basically.
No, never. They always come up with new things, and
Cool.
she adds new things from her side. She has the same kind of brain. I don't know if it's that good or bad luck, but she has the same kind of brain that works and come up with new. Hey, have you heard of this? Always bringing new stuff, and oh yeah, I heard of this. This week a few things. So have you heard of this? Yeah, I've heard of it. Okay, good. A little bit disappointment on that side, but I have an advantage in age, so
it'll come with time.
40. But she's getting, she picks up things much quicker than I do, so she has the advantage of new technologies and information technologies, of having an even better, much better brain than I have, as a matter of fact. So she picks up things that took me years, and she's listened to me and picks up things in a few hours that took me years to figure out. So that's a great help too.
Yeah, of course, it's awesome.
Condense the information to what it should be.
Yeah, sounds great. And we touched about it on the beginning a little bit. So is all that knowledge that you've obtained so far, how do you translate it over into Vortex, your company? What is the goal? What is the goal with that? Because it's very different to coaching athletes, or
yeah. In a sense it is, in a sense it's not. Because what we're doing as coaches in the 1980s and 70s, 80s, 90s is a lot of guesswork. So I give you a workout, and then tomorrow I see you again. And then I assume you are completely recovered. Now, I say, oh yes, I'm completely recovered. And then we do something and I see, completely recovered. You just want to make me happy, that's all. You're not recovered. Your muscle soreness, you're tired, and I can see from your movements that you're tired, and it isn't the way, not as snappy as it should be. Okay, but how can I know? Now, then we found equipment for which you can test the adaptability, say the stress and the fatigue of an athlete, and which system is fatigued. So you have more petrol tanks in your body. Stress applies to your brain, can be stressed, but your muscles can be stressed, your bones can be stressed, your cartilage can be stressed, everything can be stressed. So we look at test athletes in a very short, they don't have to do anything, no blood testing or something, we can see, okay, this is back in the green, completely recovered. Ooh, this is yellow, this did not recover. Ooh, this is in the red, this system did not recover yet. So your heart recovered and your muscles recovered, but your hormonal system is still down, or your brain is still tired from the workout because I made you think hard. So then, if we know that, we can adjust a program according to what the system says. Now that's it. And when I quit, I just got a system in, I think, 1999. And in 2004 I quit. So there I am with the system, but I was working with special forces, so it's special force operators, anti-terrorist people. And they say, Henk, we're having physical stress from parachuting, jumping, diving, and so on, obstacle courses. And we're having mental stress. What we do is quite dangerous. Can you test this? I tested them. And after that, there came the police. In Amsterdam, a police corps said, okay, we have a lot of people who drop out because they're stressed. Oh, okay. And so with that, and in the end I ended up with so-called normal people that should not be stressed, but they are. They should not be tired from what? And they are. And then of course the phenomenon of burnout at the time when I started around 7-8% of the working population will suffered from burnout during his or her career. It's now far above 20%. So complete burnout. Young people, the people I'm getting are younger and younger all the time, because it was something like, not the people my age, but a little bit younger, like 40 years old, they work too hard, and then kind of combined with midlife crisis, and something happens, taking care of the parents and everything. And okay, they work too hard, they try to hold on, and they work too hard, and then burnout. And now it's brilliant people, smart people, 22 years old, completely burned out, same. What's happening here? So this is what I'm doing. In the beginning we tested a lot of companies, management companies, insurance companies, energy companies. So lots of people. I gathered a tremendous amount of data. So men, women, every age. You have young people 20 years old and also, people 50, 55 years old already at the end of their professional career. People do a lot of sports, people do no sports, from all kind of jobs within a company even. And that was interesting anyhow. But the most interesting, like an athlete, not interesting to do a diagnosis, it's interesting to cure the patient or to solve the problem or to make the athlete run faster. But of course, a therapy can only be good as the diagnosis. If you diagnose it wrong, you're giving the wrong therapy. So if your analysis of the athlete is wrong, you're going to do the wrong things with him or with her. This helps us just to have another piece of information. It's not everything we have. It helps a piece of information how this person is functioning. So that basically helped me. It became a new challenge to work in stress, fatigue, and burnout. I'm giving presentations. I wrote a book, and that's basically my daily job. I'm connected to Talpa, the media company, and of course they are also having young people or normal people not involved in sports or dangerous things, which are suffering from burnout or fatigue or something. No, they take very good care of the people, I must say. So that's okay to try it, because they work very hard, but they also take very good care of them. That's very, very nice, I must say. So basically that's what my normal job is, and then I'm happy to escape to my office to test stressed and fatigued people instead of working with Ronel on the track. That's really stressful for me. Compliment for mevrouw.
Yeah. It sounds really awesome if you can also help people that way, right? It's just an amazing thing to do besides already helping people on the track.
Yeah.
It's also helping people with life.
And don't forget, the track is also not only, like I said, for the medals and the records, it's also a chance to set you up for life. It's life in condensed form, with all the limitations, with all the frustrations, with all the stress, but also with the joy and the euphoria of winning or reaching a goal or whatever. You travel, if you are happy, if you're lucky, you can travel a lot, you meet a lot of other people, you learn a lot about life. And most of the athletes, they pick up this and use it in their later life. Yeah. And I think that educational, that pedagogic part of coaching is as important as the performance part. Because I never would say, Henk, listen, thanks for all the medals, the records I broke, it was great. But look, I'm in a wheelchair because you made me do those exercises, which in the end ruined my back, ruined my joints. I would give back all those medals and records or all the credits, or I would do it again, because that's never my intention to injure people. So I'm taking very good care of them. Yeah. For their health and their sanity.
Sure, sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what is your hope for the future of coaching? Maybe to finish up all the. Because you want to share a lot of the information that you have garnered over the years. So what do you see the future look like for yourself or for other coaches?
It's somewhere a cycle. It's working with athletes. That's kind of experimenting, learning from that, and that's basically in my head, learning from that, and then sharing this information with athletes themselves, with coaches, with colleagues, and with other people who can do something with it. About nutrition is more important for the general population than lifting weights. So this is a vicious circle. Every year or 2 years I focus on coaching only. I don't read that much, I don't experiment that much, and I don't write that much. And then the focus is on, okay, I don't coach that much, I learn a lot, read a lot, and then there's again the writing, which is a time-consuming activity, to write books and articles and to lecture and to present and give courses and seminars. Since I got nothing better to do with my silly life, I keep on doing this until I drop, I guess. I don't know, it will be tomorrow, but it will be in 30 years, but this is what I'm doing, and I'm happy with it, doing this. Yesterday I talked to an extremely wealthy person and said, well, Henk, how things are doing? You always look happy. That, yes, I am. Because you have a lot of money, but I'm rich. And a lot of people come into my office with people who are in the quote top 500, and they come and they see some things in my office, and that's, shit, if I could do my life over again, I would do what you do. I said, that's funny, because if I could do my life over again, I would definitely do what you do. I said, oh, Henk,
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants what they don't have or can't have.
Yeah. So
If people want to learn more about the books that you've written or the courses, where can they go to figure everything out?
I think the website Vortex, it's mainly the company about stress and fatigue. There's the books. Vortex without the E in there.
Yeah, we'll link it in the description.
Vortex.
Yep.
I have an Instagram account, thanks to Ronel. I'm the worst in the world in this. So sometimes my videos are upside down or whatever. Out of the picture somehow, too fast, too slow. Sometimes I forget to switch off the sound, so you hear me cursing and swearing on the... Yeah? No? Okay, you're used to it. No, but it's called Henk Kraaijenhof 5. Henk Kraaijenhof 5, it's Instagram account. So pictures of training, for instance, and sometimes some funny or foolish stuff, Henk Kraaijenhof 5. And I have a blog, but I haven't been active for some time. I'm kind of slacking because I was too busy traveling and so on. And it's called helpingthebesttogetbetter.com. And this is really the slogan of my life, helping the best to get better. So we're helping people who are already good or think they're already good, help it get better and squeeze the last 1% out of them. If they have it, you never know.
Yeah. Yep.
So those are 3 sources. Now you can also see sometimes I'm giving podcasts, seminars, organize a seminar. This year I'm a little bit late with it, but normally in November I organize my own seminars internationally. I did it 7 times. Maybe there's still some time. I have to think about it too. It's always takes a lot of work and time and effort to organize a seminar. And nowadays, because of podcasts and webcasts and the internet, less and less people want to attend face-to-face. Well, that is still the best way to learn.
Of course, yeah.
You listen to the speaker, but then you have lunch with him, or you make contacts. The greatest thing about my seminar, the Helping the Best to Get Better seminar, is that people expand their network. And many people who are attending went to see the speakers and the other way around, and they see each other. So the connections there, that's priceless, and you don't find that when you do a podcast or webcast or something else in that through the internet.
Yeah, definitely. So if it comes out, the seminar will also promote it for you.
Thanks.
So let us know if that happens.
I'll let you know. I'll put you on the list.
Of course.
It is interesting. It's a wide scope of it's not a topic. It's a wide scope of topics, and so far all the people that I invited were, I think they were brilliant. Otherwise I wouldn't have invited them. People have something to tell with experience, with passion, and also with a lot of knowledge. And you won't find it anywhere, because sometimes they don't have the time to write books, or they're so much engaged in their daily job that they have no time to share it, and they have a lot of experience. One of the last seminars, even Ronel was speaking. She has a product, a unique product, I must say, for a nutritional supplement. So she could be speaking about it, and well, she has now her own website, and it's going to become. It's really something that we kind of discovered and developed together, and then she is doing it because she looks much better than I do. So that's a great. And she knows a lot more about this product than I do. She even wrote a bachelor description about this product for the university, so cool. She knows all the scientific and the practical things, good for other people, good for athletes as well. Flourish, it's called.
Right, we'll definitely link that as well.
Yeah,
cool.
Talk to her about it. She knows.
Will do.
It's very good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Any closing words? I think we've had so many cool discussions and topics already.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes, it's true. Time flies. No, about coaching. It's the most beautiful job in the world, but it's never really easy. It never becomes a routine. Every day has a new challenge. Every day I see every day as a new challenge to improve somebody. Every workout, physical workout, is also mental workout. A chance to boost the athlete's personality and ego and make them feel good, and really feel good, or just to crack their personality and curse and swear and just kind of abuse them. And that's not a kind of coaching that I really don't appreciate. But some people still want to be the coach and be tough and make people suffer. The more you suffer, the better it is. So it's a beautiful job. It's a beautiful challenge. I wish that more people would be interested in coaching. We need it. There's a need for young, new coaches in the field of sports, and I hope the young coaches will look further than their iPhone or their smartphone. As a matter of fact, look further than Instagram. So that's about it.
Awesome. Well, maybe hopefully we inspired some people to at least have a look at a career option in coaching.
Yeah.
And awesome. We'll link to all the cool stuff that we talked about, and very much looking forward to seeing where we'll be going.
Okay.
Cool.
Good.
Henk, thank you. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everyone.